Time to get banned.
I love being banned. Oh, right. Oh, you're going to defend?
Yeah, time to get banned because defending bases and battlegrounds. AFK farming pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is a funky little customer service situation that appeared in Reddit and certainly raised some eyebrows. So how does the ban system work? Is it automated or something like that? For non-participation players may report if they feel like you've been /AFK or not participating. When enough reports are received in a match, you usually receive a temporary debuff that encourages you into combat. If you don't, you're usually removed from the match. Those reports may trigger an investigation, but none of that is automated. A member or members of a specific team are tasked with these kind of things and will look into reports and your in-game behavior to determine whether there is evidence of participation or not. And the next reply, some may report you as not participating in a manner they feel you should, but that doesn't necessarily do anything. As I said, application of penalties is not automated. They are based on actions and the data your actions provide. With that said, it's important to keep in mind that a battleground is a team event. You aren't there solo, so to a degree, it's often necessary to work with your team. If you are going off by yourself to defend a lone tower without the support of your team, and you never really encounter anyone else to defend against, well, that really isn't participating. So, obviously, no one's ever ninja'd a base on this guy's watch. Now, there's an updated response. Does this mean defending flags is bannable? No, it does not. The point of the original statement was directed more for someone who is continually defending the tower for multiple games, where the group therewith may be employing different tactics and doesn't see value put in simply defending a tower, mind you, that might not be challenged at any point. Would you send someone out to hold a flag who could defend it for a while by themselves and call for help if they needed it? I guess we aren't allowed to use tactics in PvP. It sounds like you are working with your group, which is not the thing I'm warning against. I'd rather not lose my other Blizzard games if logging into play gets my account banned. Oh, this is a great example of just, oh dear, I have wandered into hot water. How do I get out of here? To be clear, you won't lose other licenses for activity that took place in one game. The only time the entire BNet account be impacted is if there was egregious exploitation taking place.
I mean, that's the thing, right? You get rid of...
Interesting.
Yeah, get rid of the prospect here that loads of like botting and AFK problems. If you think about like the actual principle of it, it's clearly just this is a very hard to define line in the sand. Yeah. AFKing is not okay. You were banned for what appeared to be AFKing. You weren't. The definition of defending a base versus the definition of pretending to defend a base so you can not play the game. That's very difficult. It has to be decided on a case-by-case basis, looking at a lot of the players' history and like their actions and stuff. And you can't ban, like people just went, well, so what's against the rules then? And the answer is complicated.
Yeah, it's like if you are using defending a tower to AFK, so I guess that their differentiation would be like, let's just say a player does come and attack you, and your character just stands there and gets killed.
Yeah.
No input. Obviously.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if your cat's on fire. That's a ban, like.
Way to go to the extreme.
That was based on the running joke that people say, oh, my cat's on fire, as a joke, because how does your cat get on fire? If it happens, I'm very sorry, but...
And spontaneous cat bustion.
Yeah.
Could happen. So, kind of interesting, and I suppose there is a other sort of WoW community council thread.
Yeah. It's that awkward thing where this is like... It's very difficult to communicate exactly on these grounds, especially today, because you say things wrong super... You say even slightly wrong, and there's 40,000 people going, what did you mean? What did you mean? Sorry? Could you explain that further? And you're like, I just banned an AFK, dude.
So this is an interesting one here. We recently discovered a bug in our analytics data that called into question some of these suspensions. In those cases, we will reverse them. Some others were so egregious that we're still confident the lack of participation in those actions will remain in effect, though some will have a reduced penalty duration if it was a first offence. On the larger point about how these suspensions are triggered, we have data analysts poring over a variety of metrics we collect to look out for a lack of participation. There's no single metric that gives a clear picture, so they look at a whole big variety, and AFK reports from other players are just one of those. I guess like the whole AFKing and AV, I'll tell you, I remember back in TBC, this is whenever it was full welfare epic time. And of course, half the people getting the welfare epics probably didn't even know they were kind of pants for PvE because of itemization budget. Anyway, you know the little dodo birds, right? The little desk bird and the way that it's weighted just means it just keeps on,
like
going. And
like the Simpsons episode.
Yeah. There was like one guy was using one of those. Somebody else, they'd hooked up like a little thing and a fan. So their desk fan would just go like, and when it would do that, it would hit a button on the keyboard to make the character move. Yeah. And it's like, there you go. There's the honor farm. Yeah. Let's see. How did the classic sub go?
Yay.
Happy campers?
Yep. When people bust out the Pepes, you know it's a good time. You know it's a good time.
I've always enjoyed these meme formats. Very good. Well,
yeah.
Who knows? It's a bit tricky because if somebody's taking the piss, that's, it's wasting the time of so many other people. Yeah. So you do have to have these policies.
Right? Yeah, that's the awkward part.
With Dota, with League, and I suppose it's far less diluted than in AV. But they know that one person can ruin the game experience for a whole bunch of their players. Can you imagine one serial dickhead? Can you imagine the amount of damage they can do in a single night?
Yep.
How many, hours that they can rob from other people? Because if they go and they ruin, let's just say 5 matches, that is 9 times 5 times match length wasted. That's some pretty crazy shit. So they do need to be real about this. This is a real problem. And so, I'm not going to reflexively be like, oh, you're stamping out the little guy. But the thing is, people are legitimately, it's like, what does this mean? Because from a player's perspective, it's like Blizzard would say, well, if you're at a tower and you're walking about the place and patrolling or something, and you're not literally AFK, we can't do anything because you are participating.
Well, that's the problem
in defending this base. But then they were even a little bit iffy on that because of the whole team strategy thing.
Yeah, and also because walking about is a terrible move.
Yeah.
Because the human eye sees motion.
Exactly.
If someone stands still, you're less likely to see them.
So are you just supposed to, plant yourself there, be still? You can't invoke AFK.
Yeah, you're what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to hide behind a nearby pillar.
My drink.
Yeah, yeah. You're supposed to hide behind a pillar, and then occasionally do an emote that has no movement or no sound, and then you'll not AFK, and that's the awkward part.
Yeah. So just an interesting little thing that popped up in the community this week. It's kind of tricky. Blizzard needs to enforce that shit because it's really awful if people's time's wasted. But at the same time, whenever you're trying to enforce policy at scale, it's always going to be fucked to a degree.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible, especially when you're a big corporation. And this would be different if this was a team of 5 people running the game, and they could all be in the same room and go, "Yo, is this guy worth banning?" Yeah, fuck him. What's the policy? Fuck that guy. That's the policy. Don't AFK, morons. And that's it. But now it's if Blizzard, if one CS rep who is is 0.000000001% of Blizzard says on a forum, defending a base and appearing AFK is likely to be hit by our automatic suspension, then that is a Blizzard problem.
Yes. And
that person's going to be shitting themselves and thinking for 6 hours about how they actually say this right, and pulling in a consulting room of 20,000 people to go, right, how do we set this policy? This is a policy issue. Quick, someone get the government on the line. The government of Activision Blizzard, of course. But that's the really awkward part. And then there's also you bring in mass reporting for trolling purposes, and because people don't like you, and because you were doing the right thing but they perceived you're doing the wrong thing, and then mass reporting is a court of public opinion. And of course, if someone's mass reported, then there's probably something there, but also there might not be. And you have this basically almost unsolvable problem. Like,
Yeah.
it's very brutal.